We're going to obviously be doing the training on PI transfers. This is mostly going to focus on PIs that are transferring out of CU. I will give you our resource page for when you have a PI transferring into CU that is bringing awards with them. But this is mostly going to focus around PIs transferring out of CU. All right, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Rostello. I'm a grant officer within the Office of Contracts and Grants here at CU Boulder. I've been in the office for almost 7 years now. I've been on several teams within the office. So I started out on the subcontracts team. Then I moved over and was a proposal analyst for about 1.5 years. And then I've been a grant officer, I think, for about 3.5 years now on the grants team. Some of my larger departments that I serve is GILA, LASP, and physics, but I also have a number of other smaller departments and institutes that I also serve. All right, so quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. So first, kind of what to expect when you have a PI transferring. Then we're going to go over the different steps and where to get started on the PI transfer process. Then the follow-up that you're going to see coming from OCG once you start the process. And then some of the additional things we might request from you for the PI transfer. And then some other considerations that you might need to think about when you have a PI transferring out. And then also some resource links at the end. We're also going to have some scenarios that we're going to go over with some questions that we think you guys might have that we're going to do a multiple choice and some polls to see what you guys think the answers are to those. And then we're going to open it up for just questions at the very end. So, all right, what to expect. So the first thing to expect with a PI transfer is that PI transfers can take a long time to complete. Part of the reason for this is because you have so many parties that need to be involved in the process, and the communication can sometimes be a lot, and people sometimes get lost in that and don't quite know where they are in the process or if they need to take action. So what I recommend is to flag these kind of items and just continually follow up on them. Check in with your grant or contract officer or your proposal analyst if you have a pending proposal that you're planning on transferring. That way, you can check in with them and make sure you're on the same page on what still needs to happen on our side. And if we've completed everything on our side and it's now on the new institution to complete their side of the process. And the grant officer is happy, or the contract officer is happy to reach out to the sponsor and also get updates and make sure we're all clear on where we are in the process. So that's my recommendation, just continually follow up on these things. So first steps. The first step in the process is going to be to have the PI fill out what's called the PI transfer questionnaire. So the link here will take you to that questionnaire. You can also go to our website and just do the search bar and type in PI transfer, and it's going to pull up our PI transfer resource page. And there it's going to have you prompt to fill this form out first. What it's going to ask you for is obviously the PI's information, so their name, their contact information here at CU. Then it's going to also ask for them to provide their DRA's information and contact. Then it's also going to ask if they know already what their contact information is at their new institution, as well as the contact information for the admin at the new administration that they're transferring to. And then it's also going to ask questions like if they're a researcher on sponsored projects, or if they have a lab, if they have other things to consider like export controls or human subjects or animal subjects or IP, or things like bailment agreements, material transfer agreements, NDAs, things of that nature. When they click those boxes on this questionnaire, it is going to loop them, those different units within Rio, on the email that the PI is going to get right after they submit this form. So they're going to receive an email back from ocg@colorado.edu, which is going to include all of the OCG contacts for that department. So you're going to have the grant officer, the contract officer, the proposal analyst, and then the DRA is also going to be CC'd on that. And it's going to ask the PI to fill out what's called the active awards and proposals form. And on this form, they're going to list out all their different active awards that they have, whether it's a grant, whether it's a contract, whether it's a service agreement. It's going to ask for things like the speed type, the project number, the award number, the proposal number. And we can always assist you with that information if you need help with identifying that stuff. But the form is going to need to be signed by both the PI and the chair. So once they get it filled out and they get all the information on there, they will need to get those signatures. It does have a second page for proposals that are pending if they need to transfer those. So you can fill that out on the second page on the form. And then it does have 2 signature spots for 2 different chairs. And this is because if the PI happens to have a dual appointment and happens to have awards housed in 2 different departments, then they will need to have signatures from each one of those chairs. And I'll show you this form at the end as well and what it kind of looks like. So once we get that back, depending on what's filled in, you will receive an email from either the grant officer, the contract officer, or the proposal analyst. If you list just all grants, then obviously just your grant officer is going to be the one to reach out to you. So it just kind of depends on what's filled in on the form. And then we're going to start looking at terms and conditions, what the PI filled out as far as if they want to transfer this to their new institution, if they want to keep the award here at CU and have a new PI take over and maybe possibly sub back out to themselves a portion of the project at their new institution. Or there's the other option of them, if they have a postdoc that's mostly doing all the research on this project and they just want to do a 0% appointment, a courtesy appointment here at CU to just stay on and oversee that postdoc. That's another option. So we will look at the terms and conditions of the award to see if the option that the PI wants to take is an option that is in line with being acceptable in the terms and conditions. So some of the additional things that we're probably going to request, well, for sure, we're going to request a relinquishment letter from the department to OCG. And what this relinquishment letter is going to have in it is that it's just going to acknowledge that the department's okay with the PI transferring this award. And then it's also going to list out the amount that's being transferred. And then it's also going to state that the department understands that if that amount isn't accurate and correct, and we find that out later on, after the request has already been submitted to the sponsor, it's going to be on the department to cover that difference essentially. So we're also going to possibly need to submit a relinquishment letter to the sponsor. So if the sponsor does request that, that's obviously going to come from OCG to the sponsor. That will be drafted by the officer, and we'll obviously confirm all the figures and everything before we submit that. And then the other thing that's probably going to be needed on most federal awards is the FS 425, which is the final financial report. So in order to do that, we're going to first confirm with the DRA and the PI when they think all expenses are going to be done posting to the speed type. Once that's confirmed, then we're going to reach out to the grant accountant within CCO and have them fill this out. And then we're going to obviously go back to the DRA and the PI and confirm that they agree with everything that's on the FS 425. And if they're good with that, we're going to draft that relinquishment letter and submit the request to the sponsor. All right. So those are the first 2 steps that need to be taken. So again, start with that PI transfer questionnaire. Then the PI is going to quickly get back an email from our central email box asking them to fill out the active awards and proposals form. Once that's received, then you'll receive an email from the different contacts within OCG that are going to need to take action. So some of the other considerations to think about. So if you have a PI that's got a lab and is obviously going to need to close that lab out, you're going to need to think about that and all the things that need to be done to get that done. If you have export controls or human subjects or animal subjects or IP, all that kind of stuff. Again, when the PI fills out the questionnaire, initially they're going to check these things off, and those different units within Rio are going to be looped in on that email that the PI is going to get about asking them to fill out the active awards and proposals form. So they're going to be looped in, and then there's also a checklist that also lists out the different forms that those units might need filled out, and also their contact information and all that kind of stuff. So the checklist, super helpful. I definitely recommend you use that to your advantage. All right, so we're going to do some scenarios now. First scenario is, can you help Dr. Murphy, a civil engineering PI, navigate her move to her new institution? All right, so Dr. Murphy asks, I will be continuing my career at Northwestern University in the fall. Can I take my sponsored project funding with me? All right, so it looks like most of you did answer the correct answer, which is it depends on the sponsor and the award agreement. So I'm going to click some of these other answers that are not the correct answer. So no, the funding must stay with CU and must assign a new CU PI. So while this may be one solution to the PI transferring to another institution, is not the only solution. How about this other one? Yes, the funding can be transferred to your new institute or to your new university. So we must confirm with the sponsor and the award agreement that this is a possible solution. So again, it depends on the sponsor and the award agreement. And so once that PI fills out the active projects form, the active awards and proposals form, and selects what they want to do, we're going to look at the terms and conditions and make sure that what they want to do is acceptable and allowable. All right, so let's go on to this next one here. So we have determined that the sponsor will allow me to transfer my sponsored project funding to Northwestern. What should I do now? All right, so it looks like most of you did answer the correct one again. So let's go ahead and check out some of the other answers just real fast. So email the sponsor and let them know you are transferring to Northwestern, and they will take care of the rest. So the Office of Contracts and Grants will communicate with the sponsor. So make sure the PI isn't reaching out to the admin contacts for the sponsor. They can let their program official know that they plan on transferring. That's fine. But the process really needs to be started with our office, and the communication needs to come from OCG. And then this other one, let your Northwestern administrator know, and the central office at NU will take care of the rest. So while the new institution will have to do some administrative work to complete the transfer, this doesn't happen until we do everything correctly on our side first. So we're going to need to complete our side of the process before the new institution can take any action on their side. So again, the correct answer is fill out the PI transfer questionnaire on the Office of Contracts and Grants website, and I will send you the form in a link to the form. So if you ever need that, just reach out to your grant officer and they can direct you to where you need to start. Otherwise, again, you can go to our webpage and just type in the search bar PI transfer, and it's going to pull up our resource page with all the things you need to do for the PI transfer. All right, so I filled out the PI transfer questionnaire for OCG. Thanks for sending that to me. What do I need to do next? So again, you guys are spot on. It is number one is the correct answer. So let's again go through some of these other ones. So wait for OCG to contact you with the list of your active awards and proposals. So the active awards and proposal form requires signature of the PI and the chair, the department chair. So again, we can help you identify what your active awards are, but it's going to need to be filled out and signed. So it will need to to be done by the PI or the DRA assisting the PI in filling that out. How about nothing? You're ready to go to Northwestern now? Well, we both know it's never that easy. And then after submitting the questionnaire, fill out the active awards and proposals form that you received from OCG and send the completed form back to OCG. So that is the correct answer. Again, when they fill the questionnaire out, they're going to get an email pretty much right away from OCG at colorado.edu asking them to fill out the active awards and proposals form. And then once they get that done, send it back, and the appropriate contacts will be reaching out after that with next steps. All right, so I just sent OCG a completed and signed active awards and proposals form. Is that all I have to do before leaving? So everybody answered that one correctly. It is number 2. So let's go and see what number 1 says. Yes, your new institution will take care of the rest. The institution with the outgoing PI must complete their administrative work before the new institution can begin their work. So again, CU is going to need to complete their side of the transfer process before the new institution can take any action on their side. So the correct answer, again, use that checklist. And I'll show you guys the checklist here in a second, but it is a great resource to make sure that you're checking off all the boxes you need to and hitting all the areas you need to with your PI transferring. All right, so we've got a couple more scenarios. So can you help Dr. Ramirez, a biochemist PI, figure out who should sign his relinquishment letter? So I already filled out the PI transfer questionnaire and the active awards and proposals form. Does my department need to draft and sign a relinquishment letter? Shouldn't OCG do that? All right, so it looks like most of you answered correctly with number 1. The department needs to submit and sign a relinquishment letter addressed to OCG. Let's see what this other one says. OCG has signature authority, and therefore the department does not need to give OCG a relinquishment letter. So like I said before, while the sponsor may ask OCG to draft and submit a relinquishment letter on behalf of CU, the department will still need to submit its own relinquishment letter to OCG. Let's see the correct answer here. Department will need to draft and sign that letter. Well, not draft it. We have a template for you guys, and I'll show that to you that you can use. But they will need to fill in that template and have it signed. And this is just to ensure that everybody's clear on what exactly is being relinquished and for how much is being relinquished, what the amount is. All right. So I think couple more. I think we got 2 more scenarios, and then we'll open it up for questions. So Dr. Python, a computer science PI, heard she needs to fill out a PI transfer questionnaire when she moves to UCLA next spring. Can you help Dr. Python now that she knows she's departing CU? So I'm not leaving until next year, so it seems too early to fill out the PI transfer questionnaire. When do you think I should start the process? All right, so it looks like everybody pretty much got that one correct. As soon as you know that the CU Boulder, the PI is leaving CU Boulder, is the time to fill out that questionnaire. So let's go with this one. Do not fill out the PI transfer questionnaire until the contract with CU Boulder ends. Well, if we're transferring an award, it's not going to end for some time. So that definitely we wouldn't want to wait until it's over, obviously. It takes time to transfer awards, so the sooner the better getting the process started. Again, we might not be able to submit the formal request to the sponsor until we've confirmed expenses have posted and subs have submitted final invoices and all those kind of things have happened, but we can at least get started on the whole process, figure out what the PI wants to do with these awards, figure out if the terms and conditions allow that, make sure the DRA is aware that they need to let us know as soon as all the expenses are posted and all that kind of stuff. So sooner the better. All right. Again, the semester before departure date, You could, I guess, technically wait till then, but again, the sooner the better. These things take time. So number 3 was the correct answer, as soon as you know you're leaving CU. All right, so last scenario here. I just submitted the PI transfer questionnaire, but I know my expenses on my sponsored or on my project speed type are not final yet. How do I know that the transfer amount, how do I know what the transfer amount will be until I actually leave? All right, so it looks like most of you answered number 2. And that is the correct answer. So let's just click on these other ones. You can give an approximate transfer amount now. So approximate numbers won't be helpful. So again, the active awards and proposals form is going to ask for a projected estimated amount at the departure date. But we're going to need to make sure before we submit the actual request to the sponsor that we confirm with CCO, the DRA, and the PI that what the accurate number is, what the official number is going to be that we're going to state to the sponsor on our formal requests. All right, and then your department administrator will calculate an estimate of the remaining balance on the date of your departure. So we're obviously kind of joking here. Department administrators are great, but they are not magicians. And again, on that other form, you will be probably doing it this way to put that projected amount. But again, we're going to need to get the final accurate number before we submit the final request. So number 2 was the correct answer. OCG will work with the department admin to ensure what date all expenses are posted. Then OCG will then work with CCO to get the remaining balance, which is most likely going to be on the FS 425. All right, the main page that you're going to want to go to when you start the process. So this is on our website. Again, if you just type in PI transfer up here in the search bar, you will see this PI transfer resources page pop up, and just click on that and it'll take you right to here. And this is start the online form now. This is where you'll do the PI transfer questionnaire. So that will look like this. So again, just all the things I said, you know, contact information for the PI at here and at their new institution, the DRA here, the admin at the new institution, and then it's going to ask you for some of these other things like the animal subjects and all that. And when you do click on these, it is going to loop in those units on that email that you'll receive back from our central email asking for the active awards and proposals form. So this does have all the links that I would recommend using to your advantage. So you'll have our procedural statement. That is kind of a detailed description of all the processes and procedures that need to happen for the PI transfer. The checklist, again, is going to list out, you know, all the things that need to happen. So first it starts out with things that need to happen with any PI leaving that has a sponsored project. Then it's going to give you all the different options if they want to, you know, relinquish the award and transfer it to their new institution, if they want to retain the award here and get a new PI to take over here at CU, possibly sub back out to themselves at their new institution, or sometimes even if they want to terminate the award, if that's an option for them and what they want to go with. Then it, you know, link here to the questionnaire, which I just showed you, and then a link to the actual overall resource page. And then this last one is the link to when you have a PI transferring into CU and kind of what that process looks like. So again, if you have a PI transferring into CU that's bringing awards with them, you just need to emphasize to them that it's going to start with their old institution. They have to initiate the process of transferring those awards before we can take any action here at CU. All right. So with that, I don't know, Nikki, did we have any questions in the chat come up?
We did have a question come up in chat.
All right.
So we have one first from Nancy. if a CU PI is transferring to another PI within CU, do they have to go through this process? So if the award's being transferred to another CU PI.
No. So in that case, what would happen is we would have to submit a formal request to the sponsor to get the PI changed on the award. And then we would have to do a reorg request through CCO to get the org number changed within the system. So those are the two things that would need to happen in that case. But that's not like a typical PI transfer where it's actually leaving CU and going to a different institution. Does that clear that up?
I have a comment on that, Kelly.
Sure.
So when they submit the form that says that they're transferring and they do the active projects, there are 3 columns that identify what is going to happen with each award.
Yep.
One of those is that it's moving to another institution. One is that it's moving to another PI here at CU. And then one is that it's closing out. So in that form is where they typically identify which ones are staying, which ones are going. And
Yep.
then we assess from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, if the PI is simply asking to have the award taken over by another PI within CU, and yeah, I guess they technically could start the questionnaire and then put that on the active projects and awards folder or form, and then we would let them know that for that we're just going to simply request with the sponsor that they change the PI and that the reorg number gets changed in the system. But yeah, so that the CAT is correct. Yes, they would still do this process and then just identify that on the active awards and proposals form.
We have another question, it looks
All right.
like. Any feedback on the transferred awards with subs?
So any feedback? So I guess, with subs, you're going to have to, I've had PIs ask me, well, can the subs just continue their work? Well, unfortunately, no. Those need to be closed out and finished here at CU. And then once the new institution receives the award from the sponsor, they're going to have to issue new subs to those sub institutions. So.
Hi, Kelly, it's Andy here. Yeah, I kind of understand that process. So if there are like more than one sub, so basically the process will take much longer, right? And also it's more complicated. Maybe we need to finalize the expenditures on the sub side and maybe needed to deobligate. Then we can, follow with the PI transfer. I'm not sure what recommendation or what more attention we need to pay to.
Yeah, I mean, again, if the PI knows they're transferring and they do have quite a few subs on an award, my recommendation is get them to fill that questionnaire out as soon as possible so that OCG is aware of it. And then we're going to let them know that those subs do need to submit their final invoices. Those need to get paid. And then we need to deobligate those subs and, close them out. And all that needs to happen prior to us submitting the formal request to the sponsor. So again, that's why some of these things are going to take a while. And sometimes you have to just prepare the PIs that this is not a simple process and it doesn't happen quickly. We all wish it was faster and easier, but we'll do the best we can to get it done as quickly as possible. But like I said, continual follow-up and flagging these items and just making sure everybody's clear on next steps and who needs to take action and all that is the best way to approach these.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. So if there is no more questions, again, process starts with them filling out that questionnaire. Then they'll get back the active awards and proposals form, fill that out, send it back to OCG, and then you'll be hearing from the appropriate contacts within OCG as to next steps. On the resource webpage, there is, you know, a template for that relinquishment letter that's going to have to come from the department. There's the checklist. You can also click through. There's kind of like a timeline thing that you can click through, and that will give you all the considerations that you need to think about. So the different options for the PI to choose from as far as relinquishment, retention, or termination. And then it's also gonna give you resources for, you know, if you need to shut down a lab, if you have IP, all that kind of stuff. You can also scroll down and view it as a list, and then it will just give you that same timeline as a list if that's easier for you to view. And then it's also got some other forms on there that are required from the other RIO units. But again, they're going to be looped in on that email if the PI clicks those boxes on the questionnaire. So they'll be reaching out to you with next steps and what you need to do. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll give one last opportunity if anybody's got questions. If not, if you have a question that comes up later on, you can always email me and I will be happy to address it or find out the answer for you and get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you being here with us today. And just so you guys know, I will be sending up a follow-up email again with the resources, the link to where the recording will be once it's uploaded, as well as just a really, really short feedback survey that helps us a great deal at OCG training. So you should hear from me shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.